Bonjour tout le monde, ou bonjour. Good morning, everybody. We are going to present the policy regarding internet review. I'm going to give the presentation in French. And this time the authors have decided to proceed differently from otherwise, because we came to the conclusion that the former methods do not always work out. So quite simply and very quickly we are going to the crux of the matter. We are not going to dwell too much on this policy, given that it has been implemented for a long time to be mature, and we do deem it useful that to consider this policy is mature, since most of the topics have been discussed for more than 2 years now, and the time that we still have makes it mature, and we are not going to procrastinate about this topic. So mainly we are going to raise the aspect related to the way forward. Let me represent the conclusion, if you allow me. This is the conclusion of Kucha about what was presented in Dakar. With regards to these two conclusions, we have a few comments, and through the questions that we intended to raise. This policy, we think that everybody does agree that we cannot ascribe more resources without taking the time to find out whether the links are making good use of these resources, given that the IP resources are public and not private properties, and they are not resources that could be sold out. So they are still under the ownership of AFRINIC, and my colleagues could correct me here if I'm wrong. The AFRINIC resources are put at the disposal of people on the basis of the general needs, and these needs have disappeared. They have to bring back the resources to AFRINIC, which had put them at their disposal, and to be used by other more needy people. Now, on the other hand, it's not authorized for people do keep some resources at a time where they don't need them anymore. And it transpires from the conclusion of Dakar that we have noticed here some strong oppositions and strong opposition and support, and we cannot remain encapsulated forever in this dichotomy. Now this time we would like the discussions to be made on the elements to be phased out or to be added in order to go ahead with this policy that we think should be necessary for AFRINIC and for the rest of the community. And in order to express our good intention, we are going to suggest to find out whether people will agree if maybe we can withdraw one section of the text that would meet the needs of some people. It's enough for these people to tell quite explicitly that this section would be phased out, and if the community deems it useful, yes, we are still open, but we are not here to beat around the bush. Now we have straight to the point. Thank you.
So thank you for the short and direct presentation. I think we have to open the floor for question. Are you prepared for asking questions, or do you have comments on that?
Well, hi, I'm Melvin. Firstly, I think this policy puts end user into risk. For example, if an ISP said that to be found violating the policy, the end user is by using of the address, it still needs to be returned as well. Even the end user may not have been aware of what is going on. Therefore, I think that this policy doesn't seem to be good to the internet development in the Africa regions. What's more, we all know that the transparency is one of those core principles of AFRINIC between the board, the member, and the end user. In order to uphold this policy, AFRINIC may need to hire a third party to conduct this review. This will be very costly. I don't think that AFRINIC shall allocate the resources to hire them. In whatever sense, I think that this review sounds very unnecessary and impractical for me.
Okay, let me reply to this one. When he spoke, we said we are not going to support or I don't support. Which way are we going? What's your problem with the policy? Tell us for us to modify it. That's all. Otherwise, you don't have a case, please.
Okay, merci.
Thank you to my French-speaking people, because your French is quite nice, and this entices me to ask my question in French. I did not quite understand the proposal put forth by our friend. Now, what does he want to say by public resources when, for instance, I'd like to buy an IP address from AFRINIC, or does AFRINIC is going to give me an IP address when I don't need it anymore? Shall I send it back to, or give it back to AFRINIC? Now, such a procedure, I think that it will affect the market of DNS or other business sectors. Why? Because I'm not quite sure that there will be, that it will be mandatory, or there is a law that would compel me to give back something to AFRINIC that I have already paid for. Now, what is your concrete concern directly? No, it's not. No, your concern. Now, I did pay to get an IP address. Now, for an address page for IP address, why do we have to justify that I need it? Now, I'd like to keep this address. So now, please, now.
Come to clarify things. Are you a seller? AFRINIC is supposed AFRINIC is supposed to be a non-profit organization. Are you a seller? He said that he
wants you to crescent.
Clarify that, yes, the language that the previous gentleman is using is of buying and selling. Yes, IP addresses are not for sale. We don't sell them. We are just a custodian of these addresses, and we give them out based on demonstrated need. So you must demonstrate to us that you need the IP addresses that you're requesting. And while they are with you, you have a contract with us called the Registration Services Agreement, under which that maintains the relationship between AFRINIC and yourself. So under those terms, you'll notice that IP addresses are not properties that are sold. But during that time, for as long as you're in compliance with the policies in place and you're in compliance with the RSA, the addresses remain with you. If you're not in compliance with the RSA and the policies in place, those addresses can be taken back.
Yes. Yes.
So I think the problem we have, from the way you asked, it seemed to me that the way the authors presented it to you, it seems as if it's the first time you're encountering this proposal. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Is it the first time?
Somehow.
So perhaps what you're lacking is a bit of a history of how it has evolved. That's what I read. That's what I understood from.
Juste pour éclaircir, je comprends très bien la procédure pour avoir l'adresse IP. Je ne conteste pas.
No, now can you use the microphone, please? Can use the microphone? Can you use the mic, please? Can you use the mic, please? No. Now, for me, what I want to say is, how can I prove that I still need this IP address or not, and that I have to give back to the AFRINIC or not? Now, this is the difference.
Okay, my name is Daniel. Wait, a moment. We said we are not going to we will not go, I oppose, I support. We know that it is in the reports of the co-chairs. What is disturbing you in the policy? How should we improve upon it, or what should we remove away? That is the line we want to. Please, let's be in that line for that to progress. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Daniel. I remembered in Senegal, I said something about this particular policy on whether it is actually needed, because that was the first question I asked. And I think the reason why we are looking at a situation where there is oppose and not oppose is because some people are asking the same question and we are not giving answers to them. But my worry, or the question I ask, and I will still want to ask, is AFRINIC not doing any review now? Because I understand even for me to apply for additional resource, for example, AFRINIC do some due diligence to confirm whether I've utilized about 90% now that we have entered the soft landing phase. So there's a review. That was the question I asked. So if there is a review, why is this reviewed important if there's already a review? Is it that the review that we have previously is inadequate? Because I could even see a point which was not in the previous, and now we're seeking maybe a balance in that, and that is reading what I'm seeing on the board. Perhaps could we amend 13.4.b by not requiring a de facto resource recovery? I don't think people were complaining or people were after this policy because you are talking of recovery. I don't see that. So I'm still on the point that maybe we are trying to create a law to catch a thief which has not stolen yet. So we want to keep a law so that when the person steals, we'll catch him. But I think what we should do is to provide environments that there will be no thief instead of trying to create a law to catch a thief. So that's my thinking. So I will want us to disabuse our minds that I am for strongly, I am not for strongly. But is it necessary, or do we, because I remember clearly in Dakar I kept saying, are we just not duplicating things that are already existing?
Well, thank you. You were in Senegal, and it was established that we need a review policy. And that day, there was a total consensus in the room. The co-chair can confirm that. You didn't oppose, we need a review. But what we are saying is, what are you not comfortable with in this policy? We will take it out, or we see how we can improve upon it. But the need for a review policy is there. You were in the room that day. Thank you.
Madhvi.
Okay, remote participation, Owen DeLong Consulting. So not everyone agrees that review policy is needed. This assertion should be challenged. And also this assumption that a commenter must provide feedback as to how the proposal can be made acceptable must be dispelled. It is perfectly legitimate to claim that a policy proposal is a bad idea and should be abandoned. Such is the case with this proposal. We have another remote participant, Vivien Paris from Laros Cloud Service Limited. I would like to express my view regarding this policy. I think it causes two potential problems. This first one is the possibility of end user losing connectivity to the internet. Let's say if the ISP violates this policy, that means the end user has to return the resource as well. By so, they cannot connect to the internet. This violates the principle of the internet. It has a detrimental effect on the development of the internet in the African region. I do not support it. The other reason is more to do with the practical side. AFRINIC, from my point of view, is not the state to be able to support these reviews financially. For example, AFRINIC may need to hire a third party to conduct the reviews fairly. It can be a financial burden for them. I think we shall really think clearly if this policy is practical and beneficial to us. And yeah, some more, and then I'm just closing this list here. So Owen DeLong says that he was in a room in Senegal and he doesn't think such was established. And Willy Manga wants us to express his reply to Vivien Paris, that he doesn't, Willy Manga does not agree with the first argument expressed by Vivien Paris. First, if we're talking about IPv4, many people here are already broken the internet, have already broken the internet with NAT. Second item, if the ISP is violating the policy, from your point of view, what should be done then in order to fix it?
Yes, let me learn. If Owen says he wasn't in the room, well, he has himself to blame. Thank you very much. He was in the room. That is not serious. We are looking for a video. We'll show it.
Now, let me clarify that. My question was that, does everyone in the room agree that we need to use resources responsibly and accountably? Not. Yes.
As we said, we are not here. I oppose, I don't oppose, or I support. What should we do? If something is not clear for you on the test, in the test, let us know. Africa doesn't have resources. I mean, those are funny stories. Let's focus on how to improve this policy. That's all.
Okay, I think we need to close the queue. How many people we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 over there. 9. So we will give only 1 minute. Please.
Less than minutes.
Yes,
I'm Shakawi Riz from Morocco. I'm AFRINIC. Je reste sur la même longueur d'onde en fait sur la question de tout à l'heure. Bon, je suppose que
Now here, I did ask some resources to AFRINIC for my business, and after that I did change my mind, and thus I did not use all of the resources, whereas at the beginning I was well-intentioned and honest. But what about the proposal put forth earlier on to give back the resources? Maybe I intend to use them at a stage for any advancement program or any upgrading of my modules. So what about that?
Okay. Good day. I'm Taiwo from Nigeria. I'm a network administrator. I agree that we should use resources responsibly. I was not in Dakar, so I don't know. I'm just going to say my own point of view now. I think these resources we're talking about, these IP resources, IPv4, I believe. People stockpile, people do different things with these IPs, but I feel we should give room for, like, I don't know, let me say big companies. So let's assume we're in the exhaustion phase now. Let's assume I'm a big company. I hope you understand the code big company now. And I give IP services to people. We're at the exhaustion phase where I can't really buy IPs. So if I have IPs that maybe I want to use it in transition to IPv6, maybe I want to sell them. Maybe I couldn't get buyers and I have buyers now. So does this policy, does it affect those companies? Or are those companies going to lose their clients because they can't buy IPs and AFRINIC wants to get the IPs back from them? Sorry, let me rephrase, because they can't acquire IPs and AFRINIC wants to collect those IPs from them.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Luhan from the Risk Cloud Service. Since this has been established that we didn't have a consensus that we have need for a review policy. Such a consensus wasn't established in any time for past, I don't know how many years. And I have a question for this policy. This policy, the last modification date, as I saw in the AFRINIC website, is April 2018. And that has been passing to the last meeting and then reached consensus. And we are discussing the exact same policy proposal second time. The policy proposal needs to be updated to be discussed again. You can't come back with same policy proposal, ask for consensus again and again. It doesn't work that way. The policy needs to be updated. The policy wasn't updated this time. And that's a thousand reasons why this policy really shouldn't be passing. And one of the very central one is AFRINIC is a registry. As I've been saying multiple times, AFRINIC is a registry. It's a company with $4 million budget with 48 people in the company that keep the database of the registry accurate, and that's all. And this policy are putting AFRINIC in a very dangerous position to go after its members, to look at their networkers, and to go with their network designs, and to see if they use their space here and there, how they do it. You are trying to build up an internet policing force, which doesn't work. It's simply not in the function of AFRINIC as being established as one of the original internet registry. It's definitely not in AFRINIC's power and not in our members' will that to establish such establishment. And moreover to that, there's no way to do it. The IP address we provided to each of the companies here, or each of the organizations here, it's representing one of the fundamental internet resources. And this is just like water and electricity. AFRINIC as a $4 million company doesn't have the right to pull the plug of any basic infrastructure of any countries. So we really should realize what is AFRINIC, what is our core mission here is to maintain an accurate registry. And for such a mission, anything go against and putting AFRINIC as a company into jeopardy shouldn't be supported. The policy itself is a bad idea, should be abandoned, and we should have no way to abolish a policy that, as a community, to push a policy that we think it is a bad idea. Thank you.
Okay, so back. Okay, Daniel, I'm back again. I'm a bit worried where I've been to AFRINIC meetings and I'm beginning to see a bad trend. We're beginning to act like a court when we come to policy meetings. When videos are replayed so that some people will be confirmed whether they lied or they said the truth. Let's try and avoid that, please. I see a situation where we're trying to play a video again and I was getting agitated as if
I think we have an open mic session. You can say.
Okay, no, I'm just saying because of this policy.
Yeah, just
okay. So we should note that. So I'm also worried that a statement is being said that we must contribute to forward this policy. I can decide not to contribute because I feel the policy is bad.
I think that comment has been made already.
Yes. No, I'm just re-emphasizing it. Thank you.
Let's try to save time.
Yes, please.
My name is Bello Temijakwe. I'm not really saying anything against it, but I would like to share my opinion concerning the policy. I would like us to take two views. Let's look at the risks and let's look at the interest base due to business. When I talk about risks, let's take a look at the side of the end users. Like if an ISP is found guilty or wanted and the AFRINIC is saying that they should return the resources, for them to be able to return these resources, that means the end users have to return these resources. So the end users are not even aware of the law that is bounding on this ISP. So my question is, how would this be carried out? Then in the second aspect of the interest, because every business is based on making interest, and we're talking about stockpiling. I believe we should move with the trend rather than going backward because
thank you, point taken. Yes, please, this side.
Okay, I'm Daisy, and I think the biggest problem is the financial concern behind all this. To conduct a transparent and fair review of a joint ISP is definitely costly. Does AFRINIC really have the resources to do? Will an unfair review be the product because of AFRINIC's lack of resources?
I think we already have this point raised, so please save our time.
Okay, how long will it take? And is the amount of human resources sufficient enough to keep up with the quality of the reviews?
Please,
that's my question. Thank you.
We already have this question. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Alea Yuna Wakren. I think Daniel said people were not concerned about revocation. But if you listen to people who spoke, AFRINIC could take numbers, affect end users, interest, business. So we have problem there. People are concerned about catching thief. But this is not about catching thief. It's best practice. If you read the document, the review is there to help the members to better use it, the numbers. If you need help, AFRINIC can help you. And it will also help us to get feedback from the membership. What are the challenges? Then we can improve the PDP process. So it's not catching thief.
Take a mobile.
We're not looking for thief. There is no thief here. Have you seen a thief here? There is no thief. There is no thief. There is no thief here. So it's more about, but then I also hear AFRINIC is the registry. Yes. What is the registry? Then they say AFRINIC registry, and I hear AFRINIC role is to make sure the data are accurate. We spoke about abuse. So all of these are already review. Kind of review. How do you keep the data accurate if you cannot review?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I will give him.
It's Pascal from Nigeria. My concern with the policy is based on the auditing process, because it said there that you use a random process. So I'm trying to understand the algorithm that can be adopted so that all entities, so that there's no witch hunting, all entities are touched, so that there's a review that covers everybody. That's my own concern with this policy.
Thank you very much. It's clear. Question is clear.
Right.
So, Madvi, do you have remote participation? Question? Yes, I will give you. Yes, please.
Sorry. Question from Owen DeLong. Why aren't they cutting off Alain as he rambles repetitively about thief, that yet they cut off everyone who opposes the policy as a repeat comment?
Thank you. So, Ashok.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, I had decided not to talk at all because of the sweet words that I have these days. And also, I thought that we have already responded as members of the staff lengthily to whatever we thought could hinder the administration of IP addresses as a result of this policy. I think between us and the authors, everything had been cleared over 3, 4, 5 meetings that we have had. But the purpose of my taking the mic is to tell Mr. Luhang very amicably that whilst we are a $4 million company, 4, he said, 5, thank you for giving us 1 more million. And while we are only manned by 48 persons, if this means that we have no standing, he is wrong. Because what we represent 20% of the IP addresses, region-wise, zone-wise, according to what ICANN has decided in the contract it gave to us. So we are a company of some worth, of some standing, and I don't think such kind of statistics or language which is thrown at our company is going to deter us from taking back any IP address which we feel we are rightfully habilitated to take under the RSA, which all members sign. Anybody who deviates from the RSA, for example, very simply, they don't pay their dues. What do we do? Because we are a $4 million company with 48 persons, we don't act. We are going to shiver and tremble before somebody can come tomorrow and take us to court. We are open to this. That's business. You are in a business. If you to challenge, we'll have to respond. So very amicably and respectfully, I'm saying this kind of language or this kind of qualification given to our company makes me feel bad, and I think all the members of the staff are as well. We are here, everybody on equal footing. We run the IP address administration. You come to us to get the IP address. So I thought it was a very good working bipartisan relationship, and I would pray upon members who have that kind of language, please refrain from doing it, because I don't think it serves any purpose. If we stick to the review policy, AFRINIC staff has already given its views, but I just wanted to respond to this, because I have said to that gentleman many times ago, we are not a mere registry, we do something more. If he hasn't understood, please maybe go to text, have a look, and see what is the mandate which ICANN has given to AFRINIC. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, would you please, gentlemen?
Can I respond?
Thank you, we close it.
No, I say I have rights to response, right?
Thank you, thank you.
That was particular to me as naming me.
Thank you. Return to your seat, please.
Yeah, but no, it's particular to me as a person, so I think I have rights to response, right?
Please return to your seat. Just the last gentleman who speak to the mic, please remind us your name and in what capacity you speak. Ashok. Your name and in what capacity you make the statement. Thank you. So yeah, the floor is.
Yeah. Thank you very much. As you can see, we said what we need from you, what we can use to change or upgrade the policy so that all of us can live with it. But I've noticed that nobody is able to say, let's do this way, let's do that. The best thing is, well, AFRINIC will collapse, blah, 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 legal consent, which have been addressed by the lawyer. So please, let's face the reality. We have no issue to oppose this policy. Over to you, my brother.
Merci. Donc,
Thanks for that. Maybe I hurt some people, but I remain deeply convinced that this policy is useful for AFRINIC. And I'm not here to impose any kind of policy on anybody, but this is a contribution that we intend to bring, and this contribution has shown that it could be useful for the welfare and for the benefit of AFRINIC. Most of the people are complaining about the cost. AFRINIC is here, and AFRINIC staff members are here, and they have submitted a statement that we have all used, and all the mails have been sent focusing on these policies, and no statement coming from staff members that has not been sent out. So if there's any problem at the level of this policy for the staff, it's up to the staff to complain. So honestly, to listen that someone is complaining about the high cost, this is not appropriate. Only AFRINIC is in a good position to know how much it can afford. Now, it doesn't behoove other people to threat that they're not going to support this policy because it's going to be costly. I'm sorry to say this, but it's only the task of the staff members to say whether that it's going to be costly time-wise and mind-wise, and they have stated their concerns that have been deeply analyzed by the people concerned. So there's someone who also talked about the principle of selection. The principle of selection has been modified a long time ago from the version 4. So now all the members are put in the same bag, and of course the selection is made there in a very arbitrary way, taking account the following factor. 2 years, if you are selected within 2 years, you are not taken into account, but you are shortlisted if you stay for more than 2 years. Let me draw your attention about section 13.4b. If people have been able to read this section and the statement written or read present any interest to them, of course they can contact us later. Thank you.
together, just a minute or two.
Okay, so thank you for the author for presenting the proposal, and thank you for the community for such active engagement. I think we need more time to discuss on the way forward. We're running behind our schedule, so we have a proposal before the break, but we prefer to break now for 15 minutes. Then we will resume. We will still have 3 more proposals, so please just 15 minutes for a break, and we will return back. Thank you. Yeah, the decision will be announced after the break. Thank you.